is Untitled.
This is Untitled.
Don't be a sucker, dude.
Okay, let's watch this. We
gotta watch this, dude.
What is this? Explain to me so I understand why it has 40,000 likes on it.
I don't know if anybody can see. Look who the channel is. U.S. National Archives.
Only 400,000 subscribers.
That's our conversation of who gives a fuck about America.
That's true.
There you go.
And I'm not even a subscriber.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is this about?
So I don't want to explain it because it explains it very well.
Oh, does it?
You don't have to. Yes.
Okay, play it.
You don't have to have and it's a long video.
Play
It's
it.
22 minutes, but it goes by fast.
Jesus Christ.
Trust. I'm telling you, it will fucking like. So okay, keep in mind what I can tell you if we have some sort of a backstory. I believe this is from 1947. Yep, 1947. So some would say
1 million views.
this is by the National Archives. So you could, I guess, categorize it as propaganda. Maybe
Yeah.
you could. But when you watch it, it will open your fucking eyes. It's just fucking insane.
Let's watch it.
Keep in mind,
Let's watch it.
1947, everybody. 1947, right? I'm so glad they put that. It's nuts. Okay.
They were so army proud. What?
War Department educational film.
Yeah.
CC? Okay. I don't need to pause it after this. You'll understand.
The titles on them that they had, they were just straightforward. Don't be a sucker.
Exactly.
We're in America, bitch. America.
I think he's gonna fucking snap his leg.
How funny, bro. These guys, this was buff back in the day. They're like, let's drink a beer after this.
Let's drink up beer after this.
Serious, bro. They didn't give a fuck.
There's so many jokes right now in my head.
This looks like a fake, doesn't it? Well, it is a fake. But here's a fella who's willing to bet his hard-earned money on it.
You're a handsome motherfucker.
Henry here got on the train with $200. He couldn't see any harm in a friendly game of cards. What if the other men were strangers? And take Joe Collins. He's got a nice wife at home. But he met this girl at the bar, and she looked kinda cute after the first couple of drinks.
She was in on
That's
it.
real shit that would happen, yeah. Isn't that crazy?
She's like, where's my cut?
Yeah, but they're in a relationship right there.
Oh, what's
It's a
Yeah.
good old-fashioned word for people like this. We call them suckers. And there are other people. People who stay up nights figuring out how to take away what they've got. There are all kinds of games and all kinds of suckers.
it? All starts
Take
with
Mike here,
deception.
for instance. He's got everything, you might say. He's young, he's healthy, he's got a job. And he's got a country called America. It's a wonderful thing to have. America. Lots of room. Room enough to raise plenty of food. Big factories to make things a man can use. Big cities to do the business of a big country. And people. Lots of people. Enough to work the farm and build the factories, dig the mines, and run the business. All kinds of people. People from different countries with different religions, different colored skins. Free people. They can live together and work together and build America together because they're free. Free to vote.
Look how
To
united.
say what they pleased. Go to their own churches. To pick their own jobs. Yeah, Mike's got something, all right. He's got America. But there are guys who stay up nights figuring out how to take that away from him.
I want to give you the truth, folks. The truth about America. I know you've got a lot of questions. You want to know why you're not getting the breaks you deserve. Well, I'm not a politician, but I've made it my business to study these things, and I happen to know the facts. Now, friends, I'm just an average American. But I'm an American, and some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil. I see people with foreign accents making all the money. I see Negroes holding jobs that belong to me and you. Now I ask you, if we allow this thing to go on, what's going to become of us real Americans?
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
This fella seems to know what he's talking about.
Yes, he knows all right.
What's the answer? What are we real Americans going to do about it? You'll find it right here in this little pamphlet. The truth about Negroes and foreigners. The truth about the Catholic Church. Now, friends, these books are free. Paid for by real Americans who want others to know the truth.
Excuse me, young man, but are you actually going to read that stuff?
Sure, why not? You heard what he said, didn't you?
Yes, I heard. But do you believe in that kind of talk?
I don't know, makes pretty good sense to me.
I'm speaking to you as an American.
That's Twitter.
And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this
Just
country
watch,
our
dude.
own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without Negroes. Without alien foreigners. Without Catholics. Without Freemasons. You know these people.
What's wrong with the Masons? I'm a Mason. Hey, that fella's talking about me.
And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
These are your enemies. These are the people who are trying to take over our country. Now you know them. You know what they stand for.
It only matters
And
when it
it's up
hits
to
you.
you and me
Yep.
to fight them. Fight them and destroy them before they destroy us. Thank you.
Before he said Masons, you were ready to agree with him.
Well, yes, but he was talking about... What about those other people?
But in this country, we have no other people. We are American people, all of us.
What about you? You aren't American, are you?
I was born in Hungary, but now I am an American citizen. And I have seen what this kind of talk can do. I saw it in Berlin.
What were you doing there?
I was a professor at the university. I heard the same words we have heard today. But I was a fool then. I thought Nazis were crazy people, stupid fanatics. But unfortunately, it was not so. You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us. Made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it. And it isn't going to be you. This is not classroom theory. I saw it happen. I saw it first in Berlin in 1932.
There's already a lot to say.
There's so much to fucking unpack there. Go for it, because I've seen this and I've already I want to see a response, because this is like from me to you. What are you taking from that so far?
So far, I'm seeing.
It makes you speechless. It really does. It's fucking
Well, because we're experiencing it right now.
exactly 47 to 2023.
History repeats itself.
Literally, yeah, around 80 or 75 years, or around, give or take, right?
But like he was saying, is like these countries that try to ruin another country, they can't win because, we're more united.
Yep.
And right now we're not as united, so we're at a weak point.
Yep.
And so right now we're split up in 10 different groups.
Yep.
Some people lean on one side, let's just say the most popular is Republicans and Democrats.
Yep.
And I think that's the problem is we're super concerned about if you're a Republican or Democrat. But
Oh
like,
yeah,
I don't think that matters
I agree.
because I feel like everyone should have a certain belief, and you shouldn't be categorized as a Democrat or Republican because there's certain things that you agree with Republicans or you agree with Democrats that you don't agree with, and you know you can disagree with a lot of their beliefs, but you know you could be 50-50 on the what I believe, but you shouldn't be marked as a certain thing. They just use that as a label and try to
Yep.
like separate everyone.
Exactly.
And they want
It's
that
all about
division.
That's it. They want the division.
And because it's so much easier to control people that are separated than the united people.
Exactly. And that's why the biggest thing that I get out of what I've seen so far, obviously I've seen this before, right?
Yeah.
Is like we're American. Like we've lost that here.
Yeah, and
Like
it's
we're Hispanic, we're African American. Like they just start dividing into pieces, right? Where and I get like some of those things are important to people, but at the end of the day, that's what made America great. Is you can come from anywhere in the world, didn't matter where you were born. You come here, you become a citizen, you're American.
Did you see that stat? So there's a stat right now.
Okay.
As of now, and I might give the wrong numbers out. I'm just gonna give like a close, number of where it's at. It's a super close number because I'm not too like correct on the numbers.
Okay.
I don't mean to bore you.
No, honestly, it's the fucking coffee.
Does coffee make you tired too?
Mm-hmm.
Not the crash, but I mean like because a crash. I don't really experience crashes,
Neither do I.
but like coffee can make me tired.
Yeah.
But anyways, so there's this number of, and I'm gonna. This like they're different, like they mean different things, but what really matters is the last number I'm gonna tell you about. But I thought this would be super interesting. So 65% of men, and this is a rough number. It might be 67, it might be something like that, 63, but 65% of men are single, and I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about in the younger ages.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm not too sure if they count as 25 to 18 or
Sure.
18 to 30, whatever. Right.
Right.
But 65% of young men are single.
Mm-hmm.
35% or 38% of women are single. So, you would expect if there's 65% of men that are single, you would see 65% of women single.
Right.
But that's not what's happening is, as a country about 20 years ago, it was even. It was pretty even.
Right.
But because the values have changed, women nowadays want a man that's successful. And, young men don't usually reach the type of success yet at a young
Right.
age. And a lot of people do. There's a lot of people that do experience it and some people don't. But the women at the time before, whenever the numbers were about even, they were always getting married young, having a spouse, going
Right.
through the trials. But now women don't want to
They
experience
expect for
that.
them to go exactly. They
So-
expect for
so
them to
what
go
they-
through their trials on their own, and once they're successful, I just get in there and
Yeah, exactly.
exist.
So, but the reason why it's low for women is because they're dating older men. Now, whenever you look at, they also had a vote on what matters in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So they did like a room full of 100 people or something like that, right? And they did one with families, so like having children.
Sure.
It's the lowest it's ever been.
Oh yeah, dude. We're in a. People don't know this. Everyone thinks that the world is overpopulated. We're in a population.
We're
crisis.
Yeah, exactly. And then they also had another poll, and it was like like what is it like when you just what the fuck is the term? I want to say
A ratio.
no. I want to say like liberated, but no. The people that like in love with our country.
Patriotic.
Patriotic. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I was fucking thinking. So they had a poll for like your patriotism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Low as hell. Right? The lowest it's ever been.
Yeah, because they're focused. I think people nowadays are just so focused on the negative.
Oh, 100%. But this
Not that
is,
you need
this
to
is
avoid
the
the negative,
craziest thing.
But yeah,
This is the craziest thing. So is marriage. Marriage is super low too. The highest poll is for money.
Oh yeah.
So my point is everyone's super hyper focused on money, and they're not even worried about, they don't want to start a family. They don't want to do any of this stuff. They want to make money because they, and this might be my own opinion, which it is. I think what it really is, you know, everyone is so worried about their, I guess, the way people look at them. So they're going to, you know, they want the money so they can always look like a high profile person.
Sure.
And the only way women can do it really
Is by being with a
is
high profile man.
high profile man that's usually older. And not saying that women can't do it individually, but like if the guy that's younger that usually carries the ambition and that you like traditionally
Sure.
has the ambition and has to support and supply for his family and has to work through all this to get to that stature of position and, you know, to be the valued person, you have to go through all those times. You're not going to be a young millionaire, you know, you can make 6 figures, but it's a low 6 figure. But, you know, that's not enough in the country that we're living in with the,
Oh yeah.
and like there's a lot of, and that's sad to say too, because there's a lot of people that only make $50,000 a year, like in that mid range, and we all see the expenses of how much everything costs.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so the only time you'd see like someone making 6 figures, but in like 200 range, 300 range, they're usually much older because they've already established, they've learned, and everything. So that's where the dating field is. So where this kind of connects is
Right.
how separated everything is and how confused the nation is
Oh yeah.
to where the values don't exist.
Yeah.
You know,
They're
so,
shifted.
Yeah, they're super shifted. It's shifted in the other direction where all they care about is money. They could care less about who's our president. They could care less what bills are being passed. They could care less about everything else, but they do care about your gender. They do care about those things.
Mm-hmm.
But like, do those really matter?
Right.
You know, I think everyone should be treated as equal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you identify as a they, she, he, whatever,
Yeah.
I shouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I think it should be equal all around.
Right.
Problem solved. Now we need to worry about our economy. Now we need to worry about, you know, why things are so much more expensive, who we're choosing as our leaders.
Yeah.
And, you know, people like that gentleman that was on the screen that was saying, Negroes, Catholics, Freemasons, immigrants shouldn't be. That's where it all begun.
Yep. Telling you, watch. Like you'll
All
see.
this propaganda. And it's like, it's super crazy. And I'm sorry.
No.
That was one voice.
Yeah.
So you have Twitter, right? Millions of voices. There's a lot of people that shouldn't be talking. Like, yeah, we're talking, but like, we're not trying to persuade people our way. Whenever you get into like Twitter, a lot of that stuff, and like this guy in the video, he's trying to like pitch something.
Right.
He's trying to get people behind it.
It's like what the old man said. He goes, don't think that they care about you. They want something.
They want
They're
something.
not just trying to be your friend and trying to give you things that they want. There's you don't just get things and then just
That's it.
that's it. There's
comes with a
always
price.
it comes with a price. Yeah.
Comes at the price. And that's crazy, dude. Like
Yeah.
we're at a time where everyone has a voice.
Yep.
So you can, whenever we were talking on the last episode, how awesome it is that Twitter, were we talking about that on the last episode?
I want to say, go ahead.
How Twitter has a, you know,
Oh yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
How Twitter has like the fact check.
fact check. That's what it needs. That's what we need.
Yeah.
I feel like we should be able to say whatever we want, but I feel like there's certain like, you know, narratives or like, you know, like the cancel culture, like those huge propagandas
Yeah.
that are involved
Yeah.
that need to be
When you're pushing an
corrected.
agenda and you're
Yeah, an
trying to
agenda.
persuade and it's all about agenda. If you're trying to persuade an agenda, you need to be fact checked
Oh,
because
100%.
you're trying to create a movement. You need to be fact checked.
Oh, 100%.
If you're just talking for the basis of entertainment, some people are going to take, oh, well, that's wrong. Well, it's part of entertainment, and you take it as it is. But that's just part of free speech. For us sitting here, this is a form of entertainment, and that's it. But if we're sitting here trying to gather people to a stadium to persuade somebody to think differently as they walk out, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's how Hitler started.
Well, mira, dude,
Let's keep going.
it's crazy.
5 young men that I knew were standing in the crowd listening to the Nazi speaker. Eric was a Catholic. Anton, a student of mine, was a Jew. Heinrich owned a small hardware store. Karl was a farmer. And Hans was an unemployed metal worker.
To all true Aryan Germans, I say it is time you inherited the nation which rightfully belongs to you. To you alone belongs the glorious destiny of the Greater Germany. The Nazi Party will provide land for the farmer, work for the worker, and profits for the small businessman. Who is getting these things now? The Jew. The Jew who has stolen our nation and our birthright. Who makes all the money and takes all our jobs? The Jew! He must be shunned. He must be ostracized. He must be eliminated.
Did
And
you
the
say, you're like, what the
Catholics.
fuck did I do?
We don't want our great nation
Literally.
run by a foreign church. We Germans will know what to do with these people when the time comes. They and their faith must be destroyed. Then there are the Freemasons. In Germany, we have no place for secret societies. There will be only one society, and that is the Nazi Party. There will be no secrecy about that in the new Greater Germany.
One by one, he attacked each minority and he split them off one from the other. These men were all fellow Germans when they came here today. Now they were split into rival groups, suspicious of each other, hating each other. They were being swindled.
Isn't that crazy
all
that's what's happening right now?
Yeah.
But the man who was really being fooled was Hans. He was pure German, according to Nazi standards. To him they promised everything, and he fell for it.
You who are true Aryan Germans will share the glorious destiny of our fatherland. You are the pure-blooded, the master race. It is your divine right to rule, and the Nazi Party stands ready to put you into power. It is for you to command all Germany, and someday the entire world.
That's how Hans became a Superman. They gave him a uniform and they pumped up his ego. He wasn't just a little fellow out of work anymore. He was a member of the master race. His wife couldn't quite understand. Even though he was a Superman, there wasn't any food in the house. Stupid woman. Didn't she realize that the Nazis were going to make jobs for everybody? There would be plenty of food and clothing and a new house. Everything they wanted. The glorious future of Germany was to be theirs. And their children would someday rule the world. But his wife, silly woman, still wondered where the next meal was coming from. Hans didn't like that kind of talk. It was dangerous. For that kind of talk, people should be put in jail.
Yeah.
Being crucified
Hans
for
had
what you have to
swallowed the
think.
bait, all
Cancelled,
right.
yeah.
And these were the men who baited the hook. Why? So that Hans could come to power? Of course not. So they could come to power. They would merely use Hans to help them get there. He would do the
Hans,
dirty
baby.
work for them.
Yeah.
Why do the
Hans
work when you
and
can get
thousands of others like him,
people to do your
all
work?
playing a sucker's game.
The hard work.
They gambled with other people's liberty. And of course, they lost their own.
That looks like EA.
A nation of
2024.
2020.
suckers. Hitler needed these people.
That's so funny.
There was lots of work to be done.
Put that on a t-shirt.
There were trade unions to be smashed, because unions were organized and might offer resistance. There were many political parties in Germany. These the Nazis destroyed. They were determined to smash every organization where people might band together and resist them. There were Jews to be beaten and killed. The Jews were not powerful, but they were a convenient excuse for all the nation's ills. And besides, a Nazi party member could not take over this man's stall. Hundreds of Catholics were put in jail because the Catholic Church had strength and could resist the Nazi drive for power. They had split the nation into 100 pieces, and then one by one, they had destroyed the pieces. Over these broken pieces, the Nazis rode into power. One party, one nation.
Don't
one
stop it on the
religion.
swastika. There you go.
Isn't that crazy? You guys, like, not you guys, but like we figure like someone that we idolize. We all like super like are dialed in on someone that
We're
we're
hyper
like
focused on them.
hyper focused on them. I was gonna say that, but I was over
Yeah,
using that word sometimes.
sure.
But you know, we idolize them so much, and we're like, they're gonna help us out. We're gonna help us out, and that's the problem. Is when you lean towards the government, when you rely on the government, it's nothing's promised.
No,
Nothing's ever promised. So like
they don't care about you. They just want
the
something.
power, they want the power.
There's something that they want.
Yeah, it's true. And that's what's crazy is we're seeing this happen. Like whenever we were talking about China, Russia, those are governments that are all communist. So that's what that was. But this is like a racist driven like dictatorship. Like
Yeah.
it was like
And
they were purging out people.
oh yeah, well, and it's obviously that's what it became, and that's where everybody sees Nazi Germany is crazy. That's crazy to see that actually happened.
It can
And they don't
happen
see
now.
the process. They just look at the final product. They're like, I cannot
Exactly.
believe that shit was happening. It's like, dude, it didn't just one day. It wasn't just normal Germany, and then it became Nazi Germany overnight.
No,
it was a whole process.
movement.
Yeah,
It was-
and then of course they didn't see. People didn't pay attention, and it got to that point, and they're like, oh, this is what's happening.
And I think the closest thing we've seen to that, and I'm not saying this is nearly the same degree,
Sure.
but like all the chaos that was involved, like in the Black Lives Matter movement,
Yeah.
like that was kind of like the nearest thing we saw, because you saw like a movement, like, don't get me wrong, what would you say, like
The broad purpose of it matters.
the broad
in other
purpose, exactly what happened mattered.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me that.
Yeah,
is
that
an
happening
important
to that
part of-
gentleman shouldn't have happened.
yeah, but a lot.
And-
But it's been happening for a long time,
Right.
and that's kind of what was super important. But
what
I mean in the movement, I mean like, don't compare apples to oranges, because it's not the same thing. What I'm trying to compare, like, there could be a movement one day that's almost as strong as Black Lives Matter, and all these people could be behind it, and it can happen to us.
Well, what I really could say is I believe, and this could be conspiracy talk, whatever, but I believe that when certain movements have that much traction in the beginning, it gets hijacked
Oh yeah,
into persuade people to do certain things to where it benefits them, and they don't really care about the movement themselves.
yeah. They don't even care. There's a
It's-
lot of people in power that were like, I'm gonna pitch myself into this because I might get a
This is
paycheck
gonna-
out of it.
And this is going to get me somewhere. This is going to
This is
get me
gonna-
in a position of
Yeah,
power.
a lot of people.
People
and
are gonna
it's
trust
like
me.
there's influencers, and this is just
Turn your light a little bit towards us. Like that light right there. There you go. For you. Yeah.
there was a lot of like this might be like just like you said, a conspiracy,
Yeah.
but like there was probably like a enthusiast or an influencer that was getting paid to represent Black Lives Matter, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, you would think that would be like, they would never, right? But you don't know. We don't know because a lot of this supposedly was having revenue. Like Black Lives Matter was producing revenue.
Oh
and
yeah.
money.
And everyone's like, where the hell did that money go?
Yeah, it's like, where does the money go? It didn't go to the community, didn't go to the
It
families.
didn't go to better
It
any
didn't,
of those people.
like, I think what's super crazy is like,
From
there's
what
projects.
From what I've understood, is that it just was gone, and
Yeah.
everyone was like, "Where the fuck did it go?"
where did it go? And you're like, you would think it would support the Black communities. So like, what's crazy is
More of like a fund where it supports communities like in a certain
because
way.
there's the majority of, projects, the hood, that's what they call it, but like they're actually called projects. The majority of projects are filled with minorities like African Americans, Hispanic.
Yeah.
You would still have the white people. You'd have, you would have different races, of course, but the majority were African American and Hispanic, maybe even more African American. But the crazy part is how it's set up, like how a lot of it is. It's like there's mainly more Planned Parenthoods in black communities in like the projects, because this might be another conspiracy. I think what they're doing is they're like, we're going to keep these people super like collected in these minority groups, like the projects, like the African Americans, we're going to keep them in the projects, and we're going to let them, rely on the government. So like you hear a lot of these rap songs, they're like about government cheese, like you've never had government cheese, how shitty it is. And like the government's going to support you guys for this much. So that's what you were seeing right there. It's like this guy's but this guy was representing the country at the time.
Yeah.
And he was getting paid, or he was basically trying to feed his family, and he was only getting small portions because that was what the government's giving them. You don't have to do that here in America. You can ask the government to help you, but it's not going to be excessive. It's going to be minimal. They're controlling on how much you're taking in.
Well, it's kind of like how there's a lot of veterans that are homeless.
Exactly. But where I was going in the direction of that is like, you would expect the money from the BLM project to be like, let's help these communities have a better education. Let's help these projects not be projects. Let's get these people help, because there's a lot of like gang violence. There's a lot of drug use, which is sad, and it's not the actual community's fault. It's just, when you're caught up in a system that is setting you up for failure, it's hard to get away from that trend. When your dad's in prison or your mom's in prison, if it's your dad or your mother or grandparents working 5 jobs to keep the light going on in your house, and you have no guidance for who's going to help you in school. And a lot of those kids are like, they don't have the guidance, like how we were saying, in the hood, in the projects. So they're going to be, lost in all of the gang and violence, because the only family that they know, because their actual families out working, the only family that they can have is a gang.
Yeah.
They're like, we'll take care of you and that. And they see it as a simple thing. And it's like, yeah, these are my brothers, this is this. But gang violence gets you killed. And you don't see like help in that sense of like, let's help these families, let's say with their rent, so the parents could be home more often, so they can have a security, can have that.
Yeah.
It's super sad, because
I think they're just put in a position where I feel like everybody has an opportunity, but at the same time, they're forced to show them that their opportunity's minimal.
It's sad.
Yeah.
And like,
it's a perspective. They're cornering them to be only shown that they're stuck in this certain perspective.
Exactly.
When in reality, they have a broad perspective where they can get out of certain situations, but maybe they're not educated to know that they can get out of those situations.
Yeah, and then like also like whenever I was going in the direction of like the Planned Parenthoods, like they're not in your rich communities.
No.
You see, and usually the communities that have, if you're talking about like middle high class to high class, majority happens to be white, and it's because those communities are already built to be in that direction of, you need to be like your neighbor, have those houses like that, have those cars.
Right.
And there's not going to be a Planned Parenthood like you look at the projects, there's one almost every 2 blocks. And I think, come on, dude, can you be more obvious of who you're trying to kill more of?
Yeah.
And you see, everyone wants to say it's women's freedom. It's true. They should have the freedom to do whatever they want. But when you set them up mainly where the minorities are, you're trying to keep those people in
You're targeting a certain group.
Yeah. And I don't know if people see it.
No,
Or
they
maybe-
don't.
And they want
Because they're shifting the perspective of why they think they're there. In other words, like instead of people looking outside of the box on why are they there? Why are they not in these certain areas?
Why aren't they
communities? Why
everywhere
are they in only these
these
communities? They're looking at it like, no, they're there for us. This is a benefit instead of this is, a trap. This is where you're boxed in. Do you know what I
super
mean?
Boxed in, and it's like it's sad because
They're focusing it on an emotional.
emotional. Yeah,
They focus on emotions to show you that no, this is for you, instead of like
yeah, we
they're-
care about you.
they're shifting your
We don't want
reality.
anything out of this. We care about you guys.
yeah.
We're gonna supply you with $200 a month of food.
I think people get caught up in their emotions without thinking of logistics.
Yeah,
And
it's
and
sad.
it's oh
sad.
dude, it's crazy.
And because
Reality's so shifted nowadays. There's like no reality.
yeah,
anymore.
and I think a lot of people, and I like I said, it's a lot of I think because all we can do is just imagine, because the government's not going to tell you what they're doing.
no, even those, whether it's
It's all conspiracy.
either whether
at
it's
that point.
Planned Parenthood or pharmaceuticals, they're not going to tell you what they're really going after.
Yeah, like-
What's really important to them.
Like they were saying, Pfizer was making during the pandemic was making $1,000 a second with us, going for the shot, what do they call it, the
Vaccine.
yeah. And it's like, is it for the good? Is it for the people? Is it like, no, it's all a business scheme.
Oh yeah.
Like I was just watching a thing where what is it, Vioxx? So Vioxx,
yeah, that's what we were watching.
yeah, it was the Vioxx thing, and I've looked it up. It's a true thing. Everyone look it up. It's a Vioxx drug. They were sued $7 billion, right? And these might not be specific numbers, right?
No.
Because-
So I don't know if you remember. So what had happened? So they were sued because
they killed about 60,000 people.
yeah, 50 to 60,000 people they killed. And what they do, like I believe on the other podcast we were watching, the way they explained it was, they're fine, right? They call it a fine.
Yeah, they're fined.
They get fined a percentage of their total income on that specific drug that killed 50 to 60,000 people. So they made 12 billion.
But
they got fined
$5 billion. But they
$5 billion.
profited $7 billion.
Yeah, they profited $7 billion.
If you make 12, if it's $12, right? We're just gonna so they understand the math. You made $12, but your product killed 60,000 people. You're fined $7. Now the remaining balance, or $5. Now the remaining balance is yours.
Yeah.
So you still
Either way, if
profited.
it's a profitable.
It's a profitable thing,
Yeah.
and it's sad because they're just like, oh, it's a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
And can you imagine what else? Like they put out, they obviously there's not a care in the world. It's a business. They're like, yeah, we might kill a few people, but we're gonna be making that money.
Exactly.
And-
And then they almost like, dude, it's crazy. They're like, it's just part of the process.
And like
We're doing good for people. And the majority of people that we serve, if you look at the ratio there, I mean, we help a lot more than have hurt people. It's like, dude, that's 50,000 people.
that is nuts.
I don't care if you served 12 million people, you killed 50,000 people.
Yeah,
That's
and
fucking
we can't.
psycho.
You can't dismiss it. It's
No,
like,
you can't.
it's like we were just talking a second ago, like about mass school shootings. That's a problem.
Oh yeah.
What else is a problem? Bad drugs
Oh yeah.
that kill thousands of people.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, just because the pharmaceutical, just of recent, like there was always, like the United States or the people never really trusted pharmaceuticals. And for some reason, because of the pandemic, we were like, let's just trust them this time.
Yeah. They
And-
have our back.
They have our backs. But all they did was they made
We're all
profit.
in this together.
And like all they, if someone cares about you, they're not going to try to make an advertisement for the Super Bowl for you.
Dude, that was fucking crazy. When I saw that, I was like, what the fuck did they just do?
And
Like-
it's like,
You can remember, I mean, we're big sports guys. Have you ever seen a fucking pharmaceutical commercial on a damn Super Bowl ad?
Never.
No, it was fucking Doritos, fucking avocados from Mexico, like shit like that. You
It was
know,
all just like usually
Yeah.
your basic
the pistachios, like big things that you remember. The cars, like dude, the freaking electric ones were crazy. Don't you notice? Okay, so like, yeah, there might have been a car commercial here and there. Jeep would make one. Every once in a while, there'd be like a car commercial during the Super Bowl. Not this Super Bowl, but the one before that. They pushed every car company had an electric and brand new electric car coming out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the trend, and it's crazy because, like, we can get into that a different segment another time because a lot of people think electric vehicles are like better for the environment. Whenever the carbon,
Cobalt, and even the cobalt mines, dude.
dude, the cobalt mines with. Okay,
We can talk about
we
that
can't
later,
really
yeah.
say anything for ourselves because I carry an iPhone
Yeah,
and you carry an iPhone.
right.
So we basically support the fucking thing, which is
Exactly.
super dope. Dope. Super.
Fuck yeah.
It's super sad, bro, because you got like
Fucking dude, they're listening
Slaves,
to Eminem, bro. Fucking till that
Slaves.
collapse. The fucking mines are collapsing.
no.
Crazy.
Isn't the craziest
Yeah.
part is they have nets around the fucking facilities where they carry these slaves, and they're like,
Try it.
try it,
You're
but
not
you're not
gonna
gonna die.
Yeah.
And it's sad, and that's the guys
dude.
that are producing our iPhones. You have
They make it in an environment where it's not like the typical factory you're thinking of. You're thinking of like it's not what you're thinking in your head. It's it's cheap enough for them to where it's unregulated, where it's to the
and
point
that's
where it
so
doesn't matter.
contradicting. It's like we don't believe in slavery. We don't believe in this. We don't believe in that. We all think that, but we know in the back of our head, our iPhone was literally built by a slave, and it's like,
But hey, we don't have slaves here. It's not happening like around us.
but it's happening in our
I'm gonna buy that
products.
$1,200 iPhone that I want so much.
Now, this is what's crazy. There needs to be a company in the United States to. Yeah, iPhone's already huge, and I think what really carries it is iMessage, right? Like the blue message, like it's like this fucking persona, right? Like everyone's like, oh, you have a green text,
Yeah.
like you're a different type of person. But if you got a blue text, this guy's cool. Like you kind of like feel comfortable texting an iPhone more than a
Yeah.
Android.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. You're like, oh, it turned blue. Like when you're putting the phone number in on the text and it turns from green to blue, you're like, oh shit. Good
It's
shit.
like this mental, psychological thing that happens in our
you
head.
see it stay green, you're like, what the fuck? That's
Yeah,
weird.
no one's gonna admit it
Yeah.
because we're like, I don't care if it's an Android phone or iPhone.
And the government pushes to be honest, the government pushes these companies to go elsewhere they force that out of the companies. Like you can blame the company, and I agree you should blame the company because at the end of the day they're still choosing to do that. Because if that really mattered to them, they would pay extra.
we
and
don't
have
know
to go
who,
through certain
when
regulations.
we talk about the government, we don't know who the fuck we're exactly talking about. But it's
Well, what
usually
I-
the
no, no,
hierarchy and the
Well, no. What I'm saying is, as a company, there are certain things that you obviously have to consider, right? Which is cost and your net and gross income, right? So, or your revenue, I should say. So, as a company, you want to have the least amount of cost and regulations as possible. Not really regulations, but the least amount of
the
problems.
max amount of profit.
Exactly. Exactly. So you want the least amount of problems. So when the government just keeps giving you more regulations, they're forcing these places. Fuck this. Why am I dealing with this shit? I got to do all this dumb bullshit. I should just go to this other country where I can pay these guys less and I still get the same amount. I still am getting everything that I got from this other from
But
the
less
exact
of an amount.
Exactly. And that's why, dude, the government with their regulations, they're killing people.
Literally.
They're killing people by over-regulating businesses.
Basically-
Because remember, it used to always be about,
You're losing jobs,
oh yeah,
and then you're also supporting basically slavery because everyone knows. If you don't know, especially if we're talking about the United States government that has CIA, FBI, like the fucking highest form of national security and knowledge. It's like they know for a fact that there is some shady shit happening through Apple headquarters. They're like,
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah.
but
But you have to remember, like, I believe there's people put into the government by those big companies to support them,
100%.
right? It's kind of like when, like, the whole thing with Trump when they were saying, "Oh, well, you need to show us your taxes." You know what I mean? Do you remember that?
I do remember
that
that.
speech. Well, it wasn't a speech; it was a debate,
It was definitely a debate.
and they were and they
He's
were
all,
saying,
why don't
well,
you
didn't-"
show me your taxes?
exactly?
Because everyone,
Yeah, and he's like, you didn't pay your. He's all, you didn't pay your taxes, and he was like, well, you shouldn't. You should maybe change the code because
It's
I
the
just
code.
benefit from the code that you guys put upon us all. But you're not going to do that because all of the guys that support you and put you in this place benefit from the same
code
benefits that
I'm
I
doing.
used.
Exactly. And it's like,
And it was like, what the? Like he just said that shit.
of course. And the thing is the only benefit that he has, or like as a people that we have from him being president, which is not the only thing, but
We're
like
just cutting through the bullshit.
cutting through all the bullshit. And then he also doesn't, he's probably not being paid from someone that's making trillions or billions of dollars because he's making that money himself. He didn't take any income from the United States government whenever he was in office.
Yeah, he didn't exactly.
Every president's on salary.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't.
Not him.
Because he didn't want to get paid.
It wasn't about that.
It wasn't about that. He wanted to change, and I'm not. I don't. No one has to fully agree with what he says.
Yeah, no,
because because we can talk about things that
some of the
Biden
things.
said.
Yeah,
Dude, Biden. But just after the school shooting, right? So after this happens, Biden, for the speech of like giving condolences to the families, he starts off, "I came here." You can bring it up, but we need to finish this video. But he to kind of get past of all what we're saying here. But he basically says, "Oh, I came here for ice cream. I have some in my freezer." Dude, who starts a fucking like speech that way?
Yeah.
No common courtesy towards the family, the grief, not only that, but like not for just the family, the school, but
And I don't know
what
if it's-
we've already experienced with the nation.
And I don't believe it's that he doesn't care or anything. I think he's just not competent. Like it's not fucking
yeah,
there.
Yeah, he's not competent. And the thing is everyone is like, we
It's
don't
just
care
a lack
who
of
gets in
awareness
offense.
of what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and it's sad because, dude, there was a huge difference in, I guess, attendance with who in office. You know, when Trump was in, I think he was the only president I looked at, and he didn't age a bit. You look at Obama, he went
Dude,
from a handsome guy to like gray hair, all this, because it's a huge stress on you. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to control a whole country. Biden can't do that. You think he's competent to do that? No,
He went from stage 1 dementia to stage 4.
he actually doesn't have. You know, he doesn't like. He had the
I was
woman
just
that
kidding, by the way. Go ahead.
the woman that speaks for him.
The vice president
No,
or speaker.
the speaker.
Okay.
Dude, she's mainly speaking through all of it.
Oh yeah, that's bro.
Because every time he talks, they're like, let's get him off the mic. Let's get him off the mic.
You know what I believe in? This is just my belief here. I believe that they actually wanted Kamala Harris to be president. And there were so many problems with that, like as the campaign went, that it wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So they put Joe Biden there, and they just shoved her in, and they made him pick her as vice president. Because I think I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm just thinking here. I believe Joe asked Barack Obama, and he said no.
Probably because Barack
said-
and him have already had problems.
Yeah, he said no. So he's like, I ain't getting dragged into your shit. Like I did mine. Literally, it's not my problem. So they're like, you know what? We're gonna put a good face. This is actually who we want, but it's not
Kamala
gonna work.
Harris is not a good face because she's one of the people that have put people in jail for selling, if it's a little bit amount of weed.
Well, that's
and for years. I'm talking about 20
and
years.
I'm telling you that's why it wasn't gonna work for her to win and beat Trump at the time. So they put her as a vice president, and when this dude, you know, God forbid he croaks, you know, she's there. That's who they really wanted. That's what I believe. I really believe that's who
and
they
it's
wanted.
sad because these people are just pawns. Like how we're talking about people being pawns.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and this is all, which is crazy, is it's basically looked upon as a conspiracy. Like, it's a conspiracy to think that the president that is not like aware of what's going on, he's not like aware at all. He's basically your grandfather that is just trying to make it through the day. He should be napping, watching news at 6 o'clock, going to bed. But this guy's our president. And for some reason, people think, yeah, this guy is so competent that he can run the country. Yeah, fucking right. No, he's the face of the person that is actually running. There's someone above him that is paying him. There has to be.
But here's the thing. It wasn't. This is where people lost their focus. They didn't focus on Joe Biden's this guy for you.
No, they just didn't
focused
want
on
Trump.
Yes, their
They don't
focus
want
was Trump is not the guy. Lesser of two evils.
It's a
So you
narrative.
get him, and then you realize what the fuck you did. You're like, this is a shit show.
And it's crazy. And you know, don't get me wrong. They're probably and I think you can notice this as well. As the people are not worth, like, be honest, through all this economic crisis, with all these prices and everything going up, like fucking skyrocketing, people are still more relaxed right now than when Trump was in office.
Oh, physically for sure.
Physically, for sure.
There's not riots, which is fucking insane because everything's going berserk right now, and people are just like not noticing what the hell's going on.
And they don't care. And the thing is because Trump is not in office.
Yeah.
And that was the number one thing is they just didn't want Trump in office because he's such a high intense person, which I'm not going to lie. I kind of don't hate that he was our president because all the shit that happened with, dude, just think about who he met with in his tenure, right? Because remember Kim Jong-un? No, but remember, he was threatening the United States, right? There was a threat. No existing president had ever gone to North Korea.
Yep.
He was the first.
The DMZ zone.
He was the first president to ever do that.
Yeah, they had. Yeah, he had never been. No president had ever been across the DMZ.
And you know what would have happened if they would have killed him? Declared war. So they knew he was such a high power, high intense force to every country because not only did he put that upon North Korea, which is
but their allies,
threat, but their allies, which is with
China.
Putin.
Yeah.
And whenever he met with Putin, Putin had nothing but good things to say because if he had bad things to say, there was going to be bad news for him.
Well, here's the thing with pawns, and a pawns is such a good word for everything that's going on because I believe, like, with China and Russia, I believe their pawn is North Korea.
Oh,
let's have this little reckless kid cause some anarchy for us, and then we'll step in when we need to.
That's a perfect example. So, for what's her name? She escaped from North Korea.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about.
What's her name? Let's get her name. I want to finish this video, but I feel like it's super intense what we're talking about. But anyways.
Anyway, yeah, we know who we're talking.
You guys need to check her out. She's just look up.
She was on Flagrant. She was on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, she's been on a lot of podcasts.
She has a book,
but she has a book. She has a book, and it's amazing because she escaped North Korea.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't understand how North Korea works, it's a dictatorship, and they have. Oh my fucking God! You watch that podcast, and she talks about how the environment is, how the situation is. The people starve.
Literally.
They put up this persona of what it looks like. They're like, oh, this is downtown North Korea or whatever, right? This is the state capital of it. And it looks all nice, everything. But you go into the other areas, there's 1,200 parks that are beautiful, she said. But they don't go there. That's Kim Jong-un's 1,200 acres. And she also goes into from young ages of 15-year-old girls. They train, and they have to be attractive girls. They train them to please him. if it's sexual, if it's, if to make him laugh
Yeah.
for entertainment.
They all have their purpose.
They all have different purposes. If it's for, massaging, that is a misogynist. And it's crazy. He runs a country. And the way that they treat the people is crazy. And if her family, so they know her, so they obviously know her where she descended from, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're all going to be in prison for not one generation, not two, not three, for 10 generations. They're going to be kept in prison for her sins. It's the craziest thing. That's the major dictatorship. But what she was saying with how North Korea's used, they're basically the ugly stepsister for China. So, China, this is what she said. And her father was in one of the political figures in North Korea, which is, she explained that it's not such a high, position to be in.
Right.
But it's
Because it's at the end of the day, it's about Kim Jong Un.
yeah, but basically, he understands how things work. So China would supply North Korea with, if it's weapons, nuclear, whatever, right?
Yeah. It's like the two spoiled parents and the two parents and the spoiled little kid.
And that's what he is. He's the spoiled kid, and he causes the damage. China's gonna be the prettier looking country. Excuse me, and it's the sad part is, if let's say Kim Jong-un declares war on anyone, right?
Yeah.
China's automatically involved. But China doesn't just let him do whatever he wants. They're like, what are you planning on doing? We need to approve it first.
Yeah.
So they'll approve what he says, and then
they'll supply what he needs.
And it's so fucking crazy. He's a pawn.
Oh yeah.
And
literally.
that's a major government. He during COVID, they don't make money. So he was selling weapons. That's how he was receiving income for the country. But that wasn't enough money to support his needs. So China was also supporting them during COVID.
That's fucking psycho.
And I don't know how to explain this to people, but this is fucking horrifying, because China is one of the, if it's not the most powerful country, if
it's top 3.
it's top two. It's 100% stronger than Russia.
Yeah, well, I'm saying you could argue it just depends on what you're talking about.
But
I believe there too.
And
I
this,
do believe
and this
that.
is this is maybe being biased because we're Americans and we hope our government's stronger than theirs, but they're definitely a close number one.
Dude, they're united as fuck.
And they're united. And
the only thing that you see is there's problems in Hong Kong, but it's not even close to the problems that we have.
No, it's not
even close.
Because there's so much division right now. What we've experienced in the past 4 years, 2 years, 3 years. It's probably been 4 years because it's almost the next election. But how horrifying would it be if China just slowly... What if... This is also the thing.
What if?
What if?
I like that question.
But let's play this. But it's... I just thought it would be...
Write down your question in your phone, and we could talk about it next time, because we're 3.5 hours in.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a long one.
Hey,
it's good though.
Everyone that's hanging in, we appreciate you.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. We're going to
Like
be doing
and
this
subscribe.
every week.
Every week, and we're going to maybe implement some cars and
Yeah,
coffee.
that would be kind of lit.
Jordan,
Hold
if
it
you're
down.
down. Okay, let's play. Let's play.
Okay.
These men had won their struggle for power. They now ruled all of Germany. But still they had trouble with their oldest and most persistent enemy, the truth. They found that truth does not die easily. And so they decided to abolish truth. One great source of truth is literature. So they burned books.
I don't want to get all into it, but it's kind of like how there was that whole agenda of rewriting history, taking out statues and stuff. But that's where I correlate those.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
That's super true. Because
Trying to rewrite, pretending it didn't happen. I'm like, no, that's what makes us better when you
So
recognize
it
those
doesn't
problems.
happen. This doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, play.
50 million of them. Many great men in Germany who were spokesmen for truth were jailed or driven from their country. Teachers, writers, scientists. Education was discouraged. In 5 years, college attendance dropped 53%. It was forbidden to listen to a British radio program or read an American newspaper. In Nazi Germany, you had to get your information from Dr. Goebbels. He knew what was best for you.
I did a project on him.
Did you?
You couldn't see this movie
Joseph
or listen
Goebbels
to this
or
music.
Goebbels, depending on your accent.
And you couldn't watch Joe Louis fight because the champion had black skin. He disproved Hitler's theory of Nordic supremacy. Albert
Wasn't that a
Einstein,
big reason
one of
about
the world's
Muhammad
great
Ali?
scientists, disproved that theory too. He was non-Aryan, so he had to leave Germany. His mind was dedicated to the search for truth. and
Albert
the Nazis,
Einstein.
having
Yeah.
sold a lie,
Like,
were most afraid
Isn't
of
that
truth.
crazy?
The church was one force in Germany still strong enough to proclaim the truth in public.
No doubt is possible that we Christians are in a grave battle.
The Vatican's crazy
Against
itself.
us stands a faith out of blood. The battle signals range from cool repudiation to hate-filled causes. Weapons are used that centuries have dulled. The aim of this battle is to dislodge Christianity from our fatherland.
This Catholic priest was arrested the following day on charges of immorality. The Protestant church also continued to try and
Cancel
fight
culture.
for truth.
He who desires liberty for himself cannot deny it to others, lest he lose what he has gained. This is the great lesson the world can learn from Germany.
The Nazis put this man in a concentration camp.
And these are all brave
There were
people.
others who spoke for truth, and I am proud
Oh,
to
these
say
people are
that
too strong.
educators were among them.
like this guy.
And what, may I ask, is an Aryan? I don't know myself. But let us see what our present so-called authorities have to say about him. They say he is tall,
That's Joseph Goebbels.
slender,
Fat ass.
blue-eyed,
Oh, it's all black and white photo, bro.
and blonde.
It's true though.
There is no Aryan race. And more important, there is no master race. There are people who may find these ideas convenient, but science cannot support them. There is no scientific proof
I can't
But there's
emphasize
any
how important these
correlation
people are.
between
Like,
a man's
people
racial
like him.
characteristics and his native ability or character. In all racial groups,
All Nazi soldiers in
we
there.
find the same range of potentialities. We find idiots and geniuses. We find criminals and philanthropists. We must judge each man as an individual and not by the color of his skin or his eyes or by the length of his nose. Come in, gentlemen. Make yourselves comfortable. There are many differences between individuals. We each have different capabilities, different backgrounds, different views about what's right and what's wrong. Like the difference between me and these gentlemen who have just arrived. But that is not the difference in race. It is a difference in the way we think. Remember that. And remember that there is no master race. That is a scientific truth. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying.
so for all practical purposes, truth had been abolished in Germany. A lot of my German friends wondered what had hit them. How did it happen? Where did it start? It started right here. And this was where it could have been stopped. If those people had stood together, if they had protected each other, they could have resisted the Nazi threat. Together they would have been strong. But once they allowed themselves to be split apart, they were helpless. When that first minority lost out, everybody lost out. They made the mistake of gambling with other people's freedom.
Once one lost out, everybody lost out.
Literally.
Like, that's crazy. Listen to that. It's a domino effect. And that is like a perfect example of a domino effect.
Oh yeah.
One fell over, they all fall. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Now
good.
let's see how those bets paid off.
Just thought that was important.
Carl the farmer was gambling on a better life for himself. What he got was extra hours of back-breaking work, as much as 100 hours a week. He was forced to stay on his land and produce what he was told to produce, because now Hitler was preparing for war. For Heinrich, who owned a hardware store, the bet didn't pay off either. 104,000 small businesses were closed in 2 years.
Sounds familiar.
And for Hans, conditions hadn't
COVID.
improved any. He had a job now in the munitions factory, but he worked long hours for little pay. The working conditions grew increasingly bad. And even though he didn't like the job, he wasn't permitted to leave it. There still wasn't enough food in his house. Hitler said you couldn't have butter and cannon. So Hans couldn't have butter. And when Hitler decided the time was right, Germany went to war.
Who decided?
Not by declaring war,
Exactly.
but by a carefully prepared sneak attack. Once again, Hitler needed Hans
Sneak attack.
to do his dirty work.
Ukraine.
Hans was an expert at brutality by this time. And
Oh,
Hitler
he is
had
part of the
decided to
Soviet
use
Union.
Hans
Was.
and his brutality against other peoples.
Did you know that?
Czechs,
Yeah.
the Poles, the French, the Russians. But in the crucial test of war, Hitler's race theories didn't pay off. His pure-blooded supermen were defeated by the mongrel armies he despised. By the British at El Alamein. By the Russians at Stalingrad. And then on D-Day by American soldiers of every color and religion who smashed across the Normandy beaches.
Unity, baby.
drove on through
Yes,
the
sir.
Unity.
heart of Germany. For the misguided
love that
Germans who had
fucking part.
swallowed the Nazi bait,
Blows the fuck
the
out of the
Nazi
symbol.
game did not pay off.
Kanye's all on
Oh,
top.
dude, that shit gets me
Continent of
motivated.
Europe was strewn
Like,
with millions
holy
of German
fuck.
bodies. Pure
We ended,
They all came together and were like, fuck these guys.
dude, we ended it. Like, not just the United States, but our,
As a human race, we're like, no, we're not telling you this bullshit.
yeah, as a human race, we were like, dude, fuck the color of your skin. Let's all get involved and let's make us the strongest
Yeah, this isn't
movement
who we are.
possible. And what we did is we created, and this is what everyone keeps fighting for, freedoms. And you take away freedoms, you start horrible, horrible movements like this,
Yeah.
like a Holocaust. Millions and millions of Jews, almost 2 million, but millions of Jews wiped out.
I want to say it was 6.
Was it?
Pretty sure. 6 million. Pretty sure.
Maybe it's 6. I'm not too sure. But
bodies.
unity,
Karl, the
baby.
farmer, was left in the snow outside of Moscow. Heinrich stayed in Italy at Salerno. And Hans, who was going to rule the world, got only a little patch of Normandy that he could call his own.
We must never let that happen to us or to our country. We must never let ourselves be divided by race or color or religion, because in this country we all belong to minority groups.
I was born in Hungary. You are a Mason. These are minorities. And then you belong to other minority groups, too. You are a farmer. You have blue eyes. You go to the Methodist Church. Your right to belong to these minorities is a precious thing. You have a right to be what you are and say what you think, because here we have personal freedom. We have liberty. And these are not just fancy words. This is a practical and priceless way of living. But we must work at it. We must guard everyone's liberty, or we can lose our own. If we allow any minority to lose its freedom by persecution or by prejudice, we are threatening our own freedom. And this is not simply an ideal. This is good, hard common sense. You see, here in America is not a question whether we tolerate minorities. America is minorities. And that means you and me. So let's not be suckers. We must not allow the freedom or dignity of any man to be threatened by any act or word. Let's be selfish about it. Let's forget about we and they. Let's think about us.
Let's not be suckers, ladies and gentlemen. I
Literally.
think that's the end of this.
That was
Thank you for
fucking
tuning in.
Untitled.
Untitled, baby.